Good morning. We are happy to see all of you today on our meeting on March the 13th. Hopefully no one is superstitious. But this is our second round. In February, we had the same problem. And that one was a challenge. So hopefully this one is the perfect situation meeting here. Welcome to my fellow board members, Larry Martinez, Tamisha Watkins, Julia Richmond, and we have as our guest Sheriff Elias Diggins. I'm calling this meeting to order now. I do have some announcements for the community. We will be finishing our annual report this weekend. It is due to be published on March 15th. We're trying to hit that mark. And we are currently receiving feedback from many of our public safety leaders and OIM for any kind of refinement to that report. And so we look forward to sharing that with the community. Also wanted to give an update as to our board administrator hiring. Applications for the board administrator position closed on February 17th, and then phone interviews happened the week of February 23rd. We're now into the next round of interviews, which will happen next week, this coming week. And the hiring committee consists of Julia, Tamisha, and myself. We had 5 candidates that reached the top level of consideration. And if any of the 5 do not move forward, meaning if they've withdrawn or have another issue that may not allow them to proceed, then we have a couple of candidates that were not at that top 5, but certainly were uh, satisfactory to consider. So we will be updating the group in the future meetings. Vacancies, we continue to have 2 mayoral vacancies, and the mayor's office is, as we know, as I've reported before, is currently evaluating applications that they received back in February. And finally, we have March is Women's History Month, and I wanted to just give a very short shout out to the first woman to ever serve in the Denver Sheriff's Department. Her name was Ida Moss Younger. And Ida Moss was a deputy sheriff. I'm going to share, if I can. Ida Moss Younger was a woman who started as a deputy sheriff in 1958 and was reportedly the first female deputy in the entire state of Colorado. She had a distinguished 30-year career, including roles working with female prisoners and prisoner transport. Ms. Younger was also an accomplished competitive shooter and the first woman president of the National Peace Officers Association. Ms. Younger certainly broke a huge barrier by becoming that first female deputy. And I know, Sheriff Diggins, you know her history, and she has served as a very important role model for many of our other female deputies and police officers. So I just wanted to congratulate her family. She did pass away in 2023, I believe. So she lived a very long life and contributed greatly to Denver and to the country. Our minutes for the meeting on February 27th are not ready. Daniel has been very much in the thick of getting our annual report done, and so our minutes are not available for us to approve, so we will approve them in the next meeting. All right, so let's see, I have several attendees in the queue here. If any of the community would like to ask questions or make comments, we make time at this meeting to allow for those. Please raise your hand by clicking on the button below or put your name into the Q&A, and we will unmute you and allow you to make any comments that you'd like to make. If you are on a phone, please press *9. Okay, I see Mr. Francisco Soto has raised his hand. All right, Mr. Soto, please feel free. You have 3 minutes to share your comments or ask a question.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, just wanted, yes, I got a question about body cams. If their police are responding to an incident, do they always have to have the body cam on if they're at the scene of the incident and not just interacting with the person, witnesses or the arrested person? I also want to bring up an incident that happened on December 8th, 2025 at the Union Station in downtown Denver, Colorado around 2 p.m. There was a black woman. She was with her 9-month-old baby and she was getting arrested. She had no weapons on her. She had 7 police officers on her, you know, that were, arresting her. 4 of them were RTD police officers, and 3 of them were Denver police officers in uniform, but they were off duty, getting paid by Denver, getting paid by RTD. I know that it's considered off duty, even though they weren't in uniform. Anyways, the RTD police officers had their body cameras on most of the time they were at the scene. The woman was held there for an hour, and all the police officers were there for 1 hour, roughly 1 hour. The Denver police officers only had their body cams on for 2 of them had them on for like less than 8 minutes. A corporal had his body cam on for 10 minutes. After digging deeper into that investigation, I found out one of those officers, the Denver off-duty officers, was named Jose Macias Lopez. He's a corporal, and I found out how much he got paid by RTD, and I looked up his records on how much he gets paid for working for Denver Police Department through the Department of Finance, Denver Department of Finance, and I got records from RTD. He gets so according to your website, a corporal gets paid like roughly around $120,000. Well, that corporal, together with Denver and RTD, he gets paid over $210,000 a year. For 2025, he got paid over $210,000. So he's doing. I mean, I have probable cause that he's probably committing time card or wage theft because he's getting paid like roughly over $80,000 of his regular pay. So there's some sketchy stuff going on. I read the police operations manual for Denver Police Department. They have to get approval from higher chain of command to do work off duty jobs overtime. So whoever's approving his time is it's looking pretty sketchy. And I read the Denver audit report for 2023, and they confirmed that most police officers are working past their limit of because they're restrained from working so many hours. So is my
Okay,
time up?
Mr. Soto, if we can at least answer the first question for you in terms of the body-worn camera and the requirements. Office Independent Monitor Castle, could you please respond to that?
Certainly, I'd be happy to. Good morning, sir. Off the top of my head, I would have to obviously review the body worn camera policy. It is an extensive policy. There are circumstances under which police officers do not have to have their cameras on the entire time. I applaud you for looking into that, and it should be published on the DPD website. And I'm happy to dig into that further if you'd like to reach out to me, Elizabeth Bettis Castle. I'm the independent monitor through the OIM website. Also, further, if this incident you feel identifies a complaint, please file a complaint with the Office of the OIM in order for a more formal process for this to be addressed.
All right, Mr. Soto. Yes, we would encourage you to file that complaint. You can find that form on either the Citizens Oversight Board website or the Office of Independent Monitor website. And so we would want you to give us as much detail as possible so that they can proceed with looking into your concerns.
Yes, is the police chief here?
No,
He's
this
not.
is Sheriff Diggins, who is our guest speaker, our guest today. So
Okay.
that question cannot be addressed by Chief Thomas today.
Okay.
But we would certainly ask you to file that complaint form.
Okay, I will do that. And also, I uploaded the videos to my YouTube channel. It's called at DIY Journalist. So if you just search that, my videos are on YouTube.
Okay, thank you so much for coming today and giving us your concerns.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, any other community participants who would like to ask a question or raise a concern? All right, I'm not seeing anything in our queue, so I will go ahead and proceed with our guest, Sheriff Elias Diggins. Thank you so much for coming today, Sheriff Diggins. We appreciate your time. We did send you some questions in advance so that if you had to bring some statistics together or information, you would have that available. I'd like to go ahead and start this question on the fact that we are concerned about, we've noted that there's been a number of disciplinary orders for DSD deputies, that it's been going down. There's been a decline and significantly for 2 years in a row, from 40 orders in 2023 down to just 12 in 2025. So we wanted to hear from you what you believe is causing that downward trend, and if there's any. We have concerns because obviously, there were several just 2 years ago, but now we're seeing very few. What is the situation?
Thank you for the question, Madam Chair. Before I begin, I hope you will allow me to thank the women and men of the Denver Sheriff's Department who show up every single day to serve the citizens of the city and county of Denver. We do so very proudly as members of our organization, as both sworn and professional staff. And so I wanted to start by just thanking them. And also, as you mentioned, it is Women's History Month. In addition to Ida Moss Younger, I'd like to just highlight a couple of things. The Denver Sheriff's Department, it has 20% of our uniformed sworn staff, deputy sheriff members, that are women. And that is way above the national average, which is at about 12 to 13%. We're proud that 20% of our cadre are women. And I think that just speaks to the importance that we have with ensuring diversity amongst our ranks. The first woman who served as division chief was Marie Keeler. Janela Orozco is currently still a major. She was the first Latina to be a major in our organization. Chief Gillespie just retired in November of 2025, and our chief of mental health services, who's the highest ranking professional staff member, is Dr. Vicki Johnson. So we're very proud of all the women in our organization, and the Denver Sheriff's Department is certainly a place where women can find a place where they can break the glass ceiling and just keep on going. I'll turn to your question. I will scroll down because I received a number of questions beforehand from Daniel Van Scooten. This one was number 4 on that list. And in looking at our information, our records, I shared with him yesterday that that figure is not accurate. We actually had 51 disciplinary letters which were issued by the Department of Safety in 2025. And I can tell you what those letters included. 7 of those cases were found to be exonerated, 1 was unfounded, 2 were not sustained, 5 of those cases resulted in a notice of improvement, 10 were decided to be an informal, 7 were a written reprimand, 1 was a demotion. There were 10 suspensions, and 8 members resigned prior to the finding. So there were a total of 51 letters issued by the Department of Safety. I shared that with Daniel yesterday in hopes that the record could be accurately reflected, and I'll pause for questions.
Apologies that we didn't get that in time for us to then rectify that question. Do any of the board members want to do a follow-up for this?
Oh, I do.
Yeah, Julie, go ahead.
We, I think, have seen a very significant decrease in activity related to body-worn camera violations. I know probably 2-3 years ago when you were rolling them out, there were like, hundreds of complaints in that arena. And so I'm just curious if you can speak to sort of changes in behavior. Do we think training is working, or people are not making complaints, or people are not being disciplined? Like what's the scoop with body worn cameras and where that is with the department?
Yeah, I think it's more so us understanding that the activation of a body worn camera is a muscle memory issue, especially for newer deputies when they come onto the job. When you are going to an incident that has something to do with use of force or some other reason that your body camera is required to be activated, your first mental response is to get to that action, to help someone, to save someone's life, et cetera, et cetera. And so the action that happens instantly in our environments is very different than it is perhaps for a police officer that's responding to a 911 call, where they have 2 minutes or maybe even a minute to get to that scene to activate their body camera before they get there. And so for us, it's about ensuring that we're providing the right training, but also it's a muscle memory issue. I think as our staff gets more used to having body cameras in our environment, we've seen those numbers begin to go down. We're also anticipating that we'll be addressing those in a different way, and hope that with those paths that we're able to help our staff to continue to understand why it's important to activate your body camera, but also give just a little bit of grace in them doing so, knowing that this is a technology that they have to get used to utilize.
A few follow-up questions on that. So
Yeah.
the first is like, we don't see that same set of challenges with DPD, who also wear body-worn cameras. And so I'm curious as to why the muscle memory issue exists in your department, but not elsewhere. So that's the first question. And then the second question is, you just said we're going to be applying a different kind of discipline there. Can you speak to what that is?
Yeah, let me answer the first question first. We've spoken with the independent monitor about this being a problem that we think is clogging up the internal affairs system. And we have in place the ability to address these issues. There are backlogs in our public integrity division process that we want to address these problems, which we consider to be sort of minor violations, faster to get them off the table. And so we're having discussions. The monitor has been included in those discussions. So we're hoping to address those more quickly rather than having them drag on for so long. Going back to your first question, I think it was just what I described a few minutes ago. DPD has time to get to a scene, generally speaking, before they have to activate their body cameras. When you call 911, a police officer is not generally right there to begin to take action. They're there, hopefully, as soon as they can be. That may be a few minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, 60 seconds is a very long time. When you're talking about the muscle memory and activating your body camera versus the deputy sheriff. If I'm in a pod and two people begin to fight, when you first start this job, your first instinct is to go and save that person's life or to break up the fight or to respond. Whatever the incident is, it happens just like that. And you, as a deputy sheriff, are in a much different environment than a Denver police officer. And so that's why the muscle memory for Denver deputy sheriffs is different from that of Denver police officers across the nation. I can tell you my peers have the same discussion about how there's a difference between patrol and jails when it comes to body cameras, but it's something that you begin to think about whenever those incidents occur and you understand the importance of making sure that body cam is activated.
How often are they reminded? Because I know to create muscle memory, you have to have the recollection that this must happen. How often is this reminded or trained, or what is the process that you go through to create that more instantaneous muscle memory, as you call it?
They wear their body cams every day while they're on duty.
Right.
So whenever there's an incident, whenever there's a need for them to activate them, they do so. They're trained prior to activating them. There are lots of incidents that happen in our facility, so I would say that happens often enough that muscle memory kicks in.
To some extent, it might be that instead of turning them off and then having to turn them on, perhaps because there is so much happening, that they would be wearing them on most of the time instead of having to turn them on. So the default would be that they would be on constantly.
Well, they're always in what we refer to as buffer mode. And you know that it's in buffer mode. It's in buffer mode.
Buffer mode.
Yeah, meaning that the device is on, but it's not activated. And I'd love to show you all next time you come to our facility how that works. But they're walking around with their devices in buffer mode, and there's a green light on. When an incident begins, they tap it twice and it turns red, and then it begins to record. Currently, the body cameras do not have enough battery power, and there certainly isn't enough capacity right now in 2026 for them to be on at all times. Now, that may change. Technology changes all the time. There are always advancements in technology. But right now, the battery life would not allow for them to be in recording mode at all times because it would burn the battery out.
I see. What is the length of time?
Say that again?
What would be the length of time that a camera could be on before it discharges?
It could be 10 hours, 14 hours, or 16 hours, depending on how long the deputy is at work. Here's what I would equate it to. It's kind of like you having a bunch of apps open on your iPhone and them all running at the same time. Your battery's going to die, right? But if you have your phone and none of those apps are open, when you make a phone call or you go into your banking app, your battery percentage goes down, you close that app so that it doesn't do that. It's the same sort of technology with body cameras.
It does. I'm sorry. I'm going to let other board members make questions.
Yeah, I guess I'm sort of unsatisfied by the answer of like it's been hard and our jobs are different than the police department. And why do I say that? Because you all have been doing this for many years at this point. And so I guess if I were the leader of an organization whose employees were having a hard time following a directive, I might spend extra time on it rather than changing the disciplinary process to be more aligned with sort of scheduled discipline, which is sort of less discipline for the thing, right? If the problem is not being fixed, I guess I don't understand the correlation between that and expectation that folks are adhering to the policy. So that's just the first thing is, I get that the job is different, but also like you have certain expectations of your job and you are supposed to follow those. The other side of that coin is that when incidents happen in the jail, people die. And so not having effective use of body worn cameras, could inhibit, good research and findings related to, a tragedy in the jail. So in my mind, it's like the consequence of this behavior is that, we might not know what happened when somebody is harmed in your custody. And so to me, that feels like a very unsatisfying answer. I think a more satisfying answer is we take seriously the use of body cams and want to ensure that our deputies are using them in accordance with policy. And it has been a long road to get them to do that. And so yes, I'll just say that part of it. I understand also the interest in moving this to scheduled discipline because it does feel like it's a commonplace work habit of your team. And I guess the question that I would raise is, could we make it less commonplace such that we don't have to have an easier form of discipline? Could we solve the problem at its root rather than trying to find ways to not clog up the disciplinary processes with what appears to be a significant and ongoing training issue related to body cams?
Well, thank you for sharing your thoughts on that, Julia. The first thing is, let me just state for the record, I didn't say that we were changing the discipline for any of those infractions. My comment was that we were trying to get to those infractions quicker in our disciplinary process because those investigations have been taking far longer than we think is reasonable, up to a year for a body worn camera violation. So addressing them in the manner that we have in place by helping to make adjustments is what I was referring to. So we're not changing the consequence for the body worn camera violations. Let me also say, as you are aware, and everyone else is aware, we have a lot of new staff coming on board. So although we've had them in place for a number of years, since I've been the sheriff for 6 years, it has been a topic of continual improvement in our organization. It is a priority for us to ensure that folks are compliant. They have been held accountable when that has not been the case. And generally speaking, what you're seeing is folks that perhaps are new to our agency and have to learn how to do this. There are a lot of things that newer deputies have to learn how to do in becoming deputy sheriffs. This is a tough job, and I would even say it's probably the toughest job in the city. They're unseen and often unsung heroes doing this work. And so that we ask a lot of deputy sheriffs working in this environment, and this is one of the things that we're asking them to do. And so giving them the grace to understand how to do that, I think, is something that's in the best interest of everyone. Liz, I see you have your hand up as well.
Thanks, Sheriff. I just wanted to state the sheriff has initiated a conversation about body worn camera cases, but I want to be clear. My position is we're happy to work with the discipline department for the Department of Safety, the AIU, and the CRU to see if we can move these cases along quicker. It's a little nuanced. It's kind of complicated because if all there is a body worn camera violation, that case should not be sitting for an extended period of time. That is different from not holding those people accountable. I am not in favor or supporting any change in the rules. I am, happy to work with the department in terms of trying to move those cases along faster.
Thank you, Liz. I think we both agree on that. And I've never said and have never believed that we shouldn't hold anyone accountable for that. To the contrary, We want to make sure that we're doing so in a manner that meets public expectation and it's also fair and consistent to our staff as well.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so we had a question also regarding the status of the project to convert jail medical records from paper to electronic. When do you anticipate it's going to be fully completed?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The project is almost complete, and we've begun to finalize the transition to our electronic medical record this summer. NAFCare is the provider. They've been working with Denver Health to ensure that the integration of those two systems is going to work for us. We believe wholeheartedly that it will. So it's currently in a testing environment. We are also beginning training for our staff come this April, and we look forward to the conversion, which will improve the quality of medical services that are provided to the people in custody and also the continuity of care once they are released. I'll pause for questions.
Very good. That's good news. I know we've been pushing on this for a long time. I'm not sure how long, but certainly since I've been on, so that's 24. Any questions from the board? No, we just applaud the fact that it's going to be completed. So we're very excited about that. Larry?
So are we.
Sheriff, can you talk to us about your efforts to reduce contraband and overdoses in the jail and how things have been going over the past 12 months?
Yeah, that is question number 6. Larry and the rest of the board, we continue to focus on this problem. It's one of the priorities for us. We have our Prevention, Detection, and Prosecution Task Force, which the monitor, Liz Perez Castle, is a part of that group that meets regularly to discuss where we are and things that we can do to continue to improve our response to that. When I go to conferences, it's one of the biggest problems in this nation, the fentanyl epidemic. There's a new drug that's out on the streets, is something that we're all dealing with, including in carceral settings in jails and prisons. All of our deputies are required to carry Narcan. And a number of lives have been saved by the heroic actions of deputy sheriffs in deploying Narcan, along with our partners from Denver Health. The nurses administer Narcan to those folks as well, to folks who are unconscious. And we do that whether or not we know what the condition is. Sometimes that may be from ingesting a substance. Sometimes that may be a medical episode. We're not sure, so we err on the side of caution. The fentanyl epidemic is one that has affected jails and prisons from border to border and coast to coast. In fact, introduction of contraband has become one of the top concerns for all national law enforcement and correctional organizations that we belong to. We continue to make strides to the work of our diligent staff and the task force brought together to combat this problem. And I'll pause for follow-up questions.
Sheriff?
Yeah, go ahead, Larry.
Sheriff, do you have any data you're tracking that you could share with us in regards to how often Narcan is being used?
I can, and we can get that over to the board. I would say that there is an asterisk next to that, Larry, simply because some of those incidents may not have been ingestion. They may have been a seizure, or someone may have passed out. And so the nursing staff, as well as our deputies, deploy it regardless of what is going on, because Narcan, naloxone is the chemical, doesn't harm someone if it is administered and they're not in a state of ingestion and overdose.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Sheriff, some of the things you've done include better screening during intake. What are some of the other measures that you're taking?
Thank you for that follow-up, Madam Chair. We purchased body scanners that are airport grade that can see anything on someone's person as well as anything inside of a person as well. So every person that comes into our custody goes through those scanners at both of our facilities, the DDC and the county jail. Anytime that there's an episode where we find that someone may have ingested something, we run everyone that's in that pod back through the body scanner to ensure that there is nothing else that someone may have. We've also deployed our canines and have them retrained to also detect fentanyl. So in addition to marijuana, meth, coke, and opium, they also detect fentanyl. So we roll those canine teams out to both of our facilities very regularly. We're also ensuring that our investigators are monitoring calls to detect if there's something that's being said during any of those phone calls that may indicate that someone is trying to introduce contraband into our facilities. And we also work very closely with the Denver Police Department, the Denver District Attorney's Office, and other federal partners to ensure that if someone is attempting to introduce contraband, that we can address those accordingly. There are other measures that are in place that I don't want to talk about, but one of the other big changes that we made was a lot of the contraband, the drugs was coming in through our mail system. We converted to an all electronic mail system. So all of the mail, that personal mail that's sent in from the outside is now uploaded on tablets. Folks have the ability to get those hard copy letters once they're released, but all of the mail is now electronic only. That does not happen with legal mail. And unfortunately, we have seen instances where people have tried to exploit our legal mail process. So there's a lot to it. It's an ongoing challenge for us, but one that we're certainly taking seriously and taking head on.
Which of those, now those have been in place for 2 years or more?
I think we went to electronic mail last year. The body scanners are about 2 years. And the other efforts, like working with the federal partners, has been an ongoing effort as well as with DPD.
Do you anticipate any other kinds of measures to be taken to try and again mitigate or eliminate? I don't know that we can eliminate, but certainly reduce the amount of contraband in the jails?
We're taking pretty much every effort that all of our peers are doing in combating this problem. When we go to conferences, we make sure that our staff goes to classes to see what's the latest and the greatest in combating this problem. Unfortunately, it's something that has happened nationwide, and it's no different than the epidemic that's happening on the streets. You know, the number of overdose deaths in Denver was higher than it ever has been in 2025. Unfortunately, one of the things that I say is that addiction doesn't stop when people come through our doors and they continue to try to figure out creative ways to get narcotics into our facilities.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Sheriff, just a follow-up question to that. With the technology and the use of canines and so on, has that led to any practices in terms of how you are searching people in person, in terms of like body searches and stuff like that, or is all that also still happening?
Are you talking about which kind of body searches are you talking about?
Yeah, like, we all see it kind of on TV. When you go to jail, you need to like have the body search. If you're using, if you're having them go through x-rays and so on, are you still having to do that as well? The traditional searching?
Yes, strip searching is not generally something that is a common practice. It does occur, but not as much as it did when prior to us having the body scan.
Okay, thank you.
So, Sheriff Diggins, despite the significant efforts that you've made to recruit and retain more staff, we did see that the Sheriff's Department had a decrease in both sworn and professional staff. So we're wondering, can you help us understand what is happening that's causing the decrease?
I can. Thank you, Madam Chair. Recruitment and retention of the members of our agency, both sworn and professional staff, is our top priority, parallel to what I was just talking about, safety and security and combating the introduction of contraband. Our recruiters are out everywhere that you can think. That's a full-time job for two of our staff. We're adding more people to help us out with that, looking for good people to become employed in our careers. We also have a retention committee, which was just relaunched in February, who will be bringing fresh ideas forward to help us to keep our members. For 2024 and 2025, in addition to the normal attrition that we've experienced, we've also seen we saw an increase in the number of members who were eligible for retirement. These are folks that started when I did 30 plus years ago, when the Sheriff's Department was essentially in the same place that we are now, being down in our staffing, down to about 65 to 70% is where the Sheriff's Department was then. And so that's how I became a deputy sheriff in 1994. There were about 300 plus deputies that were hired in a 3-year period, which is massive. So we anticipate that this year and next year, that those eligible to retire will subside. We know that it is because we've seen our projections for the folks that are eligible to do that. There was a follow-up inside of that question that was sent to me that also asked about the demographics of those that are departing. There hasn't been any correlation between any particular demographic departing, and to the contrary, we laud the diversity of our department as we have the strongest multiplicity of people for any law enforcement agency in the state and region. But I'm happy to answer any follow-up questions, Madam Chair.
We would like to see those figures, if you would please share them with us from that time frame that we indicated in the question. I think you do, we agree with you that you have a daunting task in terms of recruitment and retention. It is a very challenging job, and there's a lot of competition for those individuals who want to be in some aspect of law enforcement. And certainly the Border Patrol recruitment probably didn't help matters with a $50,000 sign-on bonus and things such as that. But obviously, we are concerned with maintaining the safety and also integrity of the jails. And so as a result, your recruitment and retention is really critical. In retention, what other employers do sometimes is they do surveys, exit surveys as they call them, to find out what was the cause or the impetus for someone leaving. Are you following some of that kind of thing as well?
We do. We offer an exit survey to every person. Some people take the opportunity to fill it out. Some people don't.
Yeah.
Some of the responses that we have are regarding the discipline system and how overarching someone feels in working in our agency. And the fact of the matter is that our process has been taking a very long time, and getting those cases closed weighs heavy on people. And so it's one of the reasons that we've been working with the group that's been brought together to address that topic. But what I'll tell you is that we're going to leave no stone unturned when it comes to keeping the great members that we have in our agency. And we look forward to the days when our staffing goes back in the right direction. We are hoping that in 2026, our recruitment efforts outpace our attrition and we're able to make gains. We have a class of 30 deputies that is in right now. We're recruiting now for another class to start in May. If you all know great folks who you think would like a career in public service, please encourage them to apply. I'll just tell folks in the community that are watching, our website is denvergov.org/sheriff. And if you fill out an application, one of our recruiters will reach out to you and will help you through the process and help you to join this amazing organization that we're all proud to serve.
Thank you. I I know that let's see, we're in good shape in terms of our time. We'll just continue with the last two questions that I see that are still available to us. Talking about an update on the utilization of the contact visitation facility and your very innovative associated clothing project. What is the status of that?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're very proud of the work done by our members in offering the only contact visit space of its kind in the entire state of Colorado. In January, we had a total of 38 completed visits, and in February, there were 45 completed visits. We also saw 27 of the people in custody who were in those visits utilize the clothing option. So it's been utilized. We continue to partner with Goodwill on the clothing, and we're also bringing on some other providers. So we're looking forward to adding more diverse clothing for the people that are in custody, especially the younger generation. We knew that we had to probably look at some different options, so we're working with a different provider. The major of the county jail has taken on the role of growing the problem as well, and we've also been notified that the program will be featured nationally in the American Jail Association magazine in the third quarter, and the American Correctional Association is also looking to highlight the program as a new and innovative practice in their magazine as well.
What are you seeing in terms of the community in the facility? How are they? I assume they're responding very positively, but what are you hearing?
Very positively. When you see people smile about coming into our facility, you know you've done something right. And when I go to community meetings, and I'm at a lot of them, just like the Monitor, Liz Perez Castle, and Nicole Taylor, whenever I'm in the community, I see them there as well. People often come up to me and just thank us for making that change. They talk about remembering what contact visits looked like until we until we removed the program back in 2000. I think it was 2004 or 5 is when the program left. That room was very stark. The floors were bare. The walls were all painted white with a plain white ceiling with a very bleak countertop, chairs on one side for the public and chairs on the other side for the people in custody. And we heard comments that back then people felt like they were being placed into custody as well. Now that's totally changed. People tell us that it's a great environment. They're very happy that we made the change, and I hear that often from community members. So we're very happy that we move forward with the project the way that we did.
Congratulations, that's very cool, and we'd love to see what happens in that national feature when you get that. And finally, our last question was, you had plans to circulate the idea of creating a deputy inmate mediation program with the unions. What has been the feedback?
I personally spoke to the presidents and leadership of our employee unions and organizations, and they were not in favor of the mediation program with people in custody. They believe that the current system of people being able to file grievances was sufficient, and that process is widely accepted in jails and prisons for issues which arise.
You're not going to proceed with that idea?
No, because employee buy-in is always something that we take into consideration. I was willing to think about it because I understand how the program works from a community perspective, even with the police department having that. But it's important for me to get the buy-in, especially of our employee groups when it comes to rolling out a program. And with them saying they think that grievances or even the ability for a person to send a complaint through the monitor's office or have an internal affairs investigation open was sufficient, I could not argue that that wasn't enough. And if we rolled out a mediation program and they didn't support it, it wouldn't be good for morale and the agency. So we'll keep the measures in place that we currently have.
Okay. We have a question from Marilyn Ackerman in the Q&A. You know Marilyn from Together Colorado. She has a question for you to say, we see you at many of the town halls and community forums discussing EBD, the education-based development. Are there future plans for your office and deputies to also use the EBD model? This question, yes, right. So that's the question.
We have not talked about EBD for the Denver Sheriff's Department. I do go to community meetings often. It wasn't just the meetings about EBD. I've gone to meetings in neighborhoods across the city as the sheriff, especially when topics interest me. This was one that did. I love to hear the conversation, sometimes the spirited conversation amongst folks, but it's not something that we have currently discussed for the Denver Sheriff's Department.
Yes, okay, thank you. Are there any other questions from the board members before I go on with the community questions? Okay, there's a question from Mr. Soto, Francisco Soto, asking about the body scanners. If the body scanners use radiation, are you scanning people with pacemakers or other medical devices? Someone who gets arrested a lot would be subject to multiple radiation. Well, we would hope that they wouldn't have that many scanners happening that frequently. But anyway, that's the question: is do body scanners use radiation?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Soto. They do utilize radiation. Our deputies are wearing, and I'm blanking on the name at the moment, but it's a device that measures the radiation that they're exposed to from frequent interactions in that area. So it's something that we do track. It's one of the things that the provider helps us with. If someone has a medical condition by which they're not able to go through a body scanner, the medical staff will let us know. So before they go in there, they're offered the opportunity to talk to Denver health nurses. And so we would figure out a different way to be able to search that person. And someone coming through multiple times wouldn't have enough radiation exposure possibly to harm them. We haven't heard of that for any jail or prison that utilizes body scanners.
I see. Okay. Yes, because he also mentioned that his mother has a medical device and cannot go through medical detectors or be wanded. So it has to go through a different process for security. The last question he has is, how many sheriffs permanently just specifically patrol downtown Denver? Sheriffs don't patrol. Is that correct?
Not yet.
Yeah.
One day, hopefully before I go home to see the Lord, we're hoping that changes, Mr. Soto, but currently we don't have that opportunity, but certainly something that we will be interested in and would love to make that change with the executive.
As they say back east, Sheriff Diggins, we'll talk.
That's right. That's right.
We'll talk about it.
That's right.
All right. Thank you so much, Sheriff Diggins, for all of the different questions. Oh, there was one other question. Denver Right has reported that you plan to retire in the spring of 2028. Is that information accurate?
Is that the Denver Right? Did they come out with that today?
I don't know when. Oh, it says last October.
Oh, well, yeah, that's old news. Yes, ma'am. I have been here for 32 years, and I'll be eligible for retirement in April of 2028. I love the department. I love the work that I do. But it truly wears on you, and my health certainly has been impacted by the stress of the work. And so, in order to ensure that I take care of my family and I take care of myself, I do plan, but plans may change. I will be eligible for retirement in October of 2028. It also gives us an opportunity to do some proactive succession planning in our agency and make sure that all of the knowledge that I've been privileged to have gotten over those years is passed on to the next generation of leaders in our organization. And so we're being very mindful about bringing up good people and passing that knowledge on, and just continuing to put great programs in place like the military veterans pod that we created, and all the other things that we've done, the contact visits and the new initiatives and EMR, just doing as much as we can while we're blessed to serve in these positions. So we shall see about April 2028.
We will, you can anticipate a question that will be in our next meeting or so as to what those specific goals might be, but we're going to let it go for now since 2028 is still a ways away.
Got a lot
All
of work
right.
to do. That's right.
A lot of work. Yes, indeed. Thank you so much for your time, Sheriff Diggins. We appreciate it so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Everyone have a good weekend and a good Friday.
You too.
Okay.
I am going to have independent monitor give just a brief update. Liz? Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The thing that is most pressing to us and has been consuming us for the last few weeks is our annual report, covering all of the areas of review by the Office of the Independent Monitor for the year of 2025. It is our hope to publish that report within the next 24 hours. So we are just about there. The only other thing in terms of education-based discipline for an update, we are awaiting some further information from the department before proceeding with any further recommendations. Department of Safety.
Oh, very good. Any other questions from the board? Okay. If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn and move to executive session for the purpose of discussing confidential information about internal investigations or other material subject to the deliberative process privilege.
So moved.
Thank you. That's Tamisha. Second. Julia. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you to the community members who have attended. We appreciate your questions and your concerns raised. And our next meeting is March 27th at 10 o'clock. Thank you so much.
Can somebody please share the executive session link?
Sure. We'll have Nicole send that out to us.
Please,
again.
thank you.
I
Thank
also
you.
don't have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Julia, I'll send that right now.